Thank you, Judy. You brought back memories. The church I grew up in had a pianist that would really work at those hymns, lots of embellishments and so forth. Makes me feel confident. So, this morning, a few announcements. Let me begin with the one connected to that song you just sang. A friend of mine in Unity, for more than 30 years, started this process back in Kansas City of collecting coins. And because she had owned several Chinese restaurants, she was very familiar with the little carry-out box. And so that's what she would use. And then she came up with this affirmation on the box: I accept change. I adjust to change. I appreciate change in my life. She had an interesting story. Born in Saigon, her father was an ambassador to China, and things weren't going smoothly, difficult times. And so she and her father, she was only 4, were put into a concentration camp. And she said she never forgot his lesson. He'd point through the fence at some flowers or whatever and tell her, always find something good wherever you are, whatever situation you're in. Eventually, she received a Catholic scholarship and came to the United States for school and for college. She came to Kansas City, and her first husband introduced her to Unity. And that was it. That was her favorite hymn. She loved the confidence about it, to know the power of God with you, Christ in you, that you can live life with confidence. And all the years I knew her, she has made her transition. She loved singing Confident Living. So I picked up her little plan. And next week, when daylight savings time ends, you bring back your coin boxes if you've been filling one up, and we'll give you a new one, and you can fill it until early March when daylight savings begins again. But it's not just a way to collect coins for the church, although we appreciate the blessing, but really to practice that affirmation. Because change is scary to some of us, I confess at times. To practice that affirmation as you put a coin, a symbol of good, of substance, into the box and say, I accept change. I adjust to change. And I appreciate change in my life, because without the changes, there would be no life. In this world, we need constant change and renewal to keep things going. Please be patient with the announcements because we've got so much going on. This Wednesday, we continue with our Wednesdays of Wonder, our WOW concert. And Thomasina Petrus was the first one to step up and say, I want to be in charge of a concert. So she will be performing with Tom West, along with Bill Mann. She and Bill, in September at our concert, wrote a song, Fall in Love in Fall, downstairs in our dining room. So they're going to debut that song for us. And also joining them will be new friends, Tyler Stromquist Lavoie and David Cole on drums, and maybe other surprises you'll have to come and see. We have wonderful refreshments planned. I have ordered a beautiful chocolate ganache cake with gold leaf on it from Patrick's Bakery, and it will be a cake raffle. You buy your raffle tickets as you come in, and someone will win that magnificent cake. And please share with me. So, join us for the concert. You can register online for your ticket for Wednesday evening. Saturday, this coming Saturday, November the 4th, I will lead a ceremony of blessing and remembrance for your animal friends. So you can bring the animals in person, you can bring a photograph if they're kind of shy about leaving the house, and we will bless them. And it's also a time to remember animals that have blessed our life in the past. So you are welcome to participate in that. Next Sunday will be our annual Remembrance Sunday and an opportunity to remember people who have blessed our lives that we want to keep in our mind and heart. And finally, November 12th is our next Innovative Sunday service. Only one service that day at 10:30. It'll be an exciting time, and we're inviting you to make a special effort to bring a friend, or if necessary, to bring a photo of them. And the service is going to give you an opportunity to express gratitude to a friend who is important to you. And they will also get to hear wonderful music and wonderful refreshments afterwards. So we've got a lot of activities. Please keep up with your newsletter, because sometimes the activities are even a bit much for me to keep up with. So, at this time, let us acknowledge one another. I invite you to look around the room, catch someone's eye, and use a statement of affirmation. Namaste. I behold the Christ in you. Your choice. And now I invite you to look at the camera over the entry doors, wave at our friends online, and let's affirm that statement we behold with for them. Together, we behold the Christ in you. Dear friends, near and far, we may not be able to see you physically, but we know the truth of you and that there is a mighty divine power within you. We affirm it, we believe in it, and we know it will forever lead you forward in your life. At this time, it is my pleasure to have Prayer Chaplain Yvette Trotman come forward and share the daily word and the community prayer with us.
Good morning, Unity South family. Today's daily word is imagination. I imagine and create my most magnificent life. I admire the storyteller's gift for creating fantastic worlds where impossible things happen. I immerse myself in the story, allowing myself to feel the wonder, the exhilaration, and even the sadness the storyteller's imagination has created. No matter how scary the story, there is nothing to fear. It is only a story. My imagination helps me create my life story. Guided by divine wisdom and will, I imagine a positive, meaningful life. If disturbing thoughts cloud my imagination, I remember I am God's living expression. There is nothing to fear. My spiritual gifts of faith, love, strength, and understanding join with my imagination to build the fulfilling life my heart desires. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Joel 2:28. And we'll take a few minutes to take a deep breath as we begin to enter community prayer. Calm ourselves, be still, and know. As we begin this period of prayer, we confidently command our minds and our bodies to come into agreement. Breathing in this expanding awareness of God, we are centered. And as we slowly and attentively prepare our heart, our mind, and our bodies to realize our unity with God, with a deeper breath, our heartbeat is in agreement, and every thought is in alignment and acknowledgement of today's silent unity affirmation. Life is a divine healing stream within my body, within my mind, and within my being. Divine life is a river that can never run dry, an eternal stream of well-being in which I am whole. No human condition could possibly interrupt or diminish the flow of life, for God is the substance of life. I am thankful for and celebrate the fullness of life. As divine life flows like a river throughout my being, I am one with God. I claim spiritual authority over stormy thoughts and emotions. Friends, when faced with difficulties, I agree. Excuse me. I agree. God is the one and only source of good in my life. I feel the healing currents of life, free and flowing abundantly into and through my soul and body, as it's renewing, redeeming, and uplifting me as eternal vitality. There is no circumstance or condition with any power to limit me. Spirit is continually meeting my needs in countless and unseen ways. Today, as is our prayer practice, I see all those in need of prayer at peace in God as I pray for the prayer requests Unity South has received in our prayer box. We hold and affirm the truth within these individuals. And we know that life is a divine healing stream within their body, their mind, and their being. As I pause. We will continue with the Lord's Prayer.
it's my pleasure to invite Rich Miller to grace us with music. And Yvette, who is the chaplain today? Is it? Okay. You can meet in the prayer room right behind the sanctuary here after the service for a time of prayer. All you need to say to the prayer chaplain is, pray with me for a promotion, a birthday, a challenge, a fear, and they will support the truth in you.
Good morning. Most of the songs I write, as you know, come from me having a conversation with Spirit and asking a question. This particular one is a little bit more about the self-discovery. How many times have I felt this way? How many times before today? And never had the courage or the honesty to say. The many times I have felt God's love, and how my fears would freeze my heart. But now at last I know the truth and have the strength to start to trust God's love and to accept the love and will of God and dedicate all my life to share the light and love of God and to trust God's love. How many gifts has fear denied? How many blessings pushed away? How many times have pride and anger done their best to ruin the day? And the big test happens next, as those with open hearts can see, to forgive, forget, and choose to live in love and harmony, and to trust God's love and accept the love and will of God and dedicate all of life to share the light and love of God and to trust God's love. How many times do we choose love? How many times is love refused? When will we learn at last by choosing power over love how much we lose? For we all are here to learn, and we'll be here till we're through, and our love for God, and all of life is clear in what we say and do. And we trust God's love and accept the love and will of God, and dedicate all of life to share the light and love of God. And we trust God's love, trust God's love. You know I trust God's love. Say, I trust God's love.
Well, if you read our newsletter on Wednesday before Sunday, or you looked at your bulletin this morning, you might have thought, what on earth is he up to? Well, da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum. They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family. How did that family of fiction become so beloved in America? Of course, the creation of Charles Addams, they became a cartoon first, a television show, then several major movies. Why? Why were those peculiar characters beloved? I remember in one scene, a guest in their house was impressed with Gomez Addams and his brother. And she said to Morticia Addams, "Where do you find these Addams men?" And Morticia thought and said, "Well, it has to be damp." They were from under a rock, I suppose. Now, Halloween is almost here. That's why some of us are expressing our inner selves in different ways this morning. Some with humor, some with playfulness, some with cleverness, and some expressing something about their personality. When I was looking through my closet and trying to figure out what to do, I said, "Oh, I know. It's been 22 years, but I will get out the robe that Unity ordained me in long ago." And so that brought back memories. And I shook it, and the dust clouds roared like, who was it in Peanuts? With all Pigpen, with all the dust. So it was into the washer and ironing to get it ready. But here we are. Not only is laundry and ironing scary for some of us, but we see all kinds of scary things in our community, our city, our country. This tradition, popularized, not originated, but popularized in America, has spread around the world, trick-or-treating and costumes as such. And sometimes it can be rather scary, frightening, and even grotesque, or ooky, like the Addams Family. So what is all this focus on the ugly, the bizarre? What do ghosts and obsessions with the dead have to do with this annual happening called Halloween? Well, it's a lot of fun for sure. The kids love it. When I was growing up, it was my favorite holiday of the year. It was a big deal. But it can also, if we're paying attention, and not just munching on candy. It can bring up doubts about our safety, fear of the unknowns in life, and even resistance, repulsion, or that particular word, scorn, of the spiritual world, which we cannot control, like this material world in which we live. I've been thinking all week about what disturbs me. And if I face it, what can I learn from it? How does it change me to see things and experience things that at first glance are ugly or frightening or even threatening? And now with war in our world, we might question our faith in Spirit's goodwill for humanity. Are you really convinced of the power of prayer to make a difference in our world? Do you question God's will for your life or our world? I think Halloween, in all of its strangeness, gives us an opportunity, even permission, to think about many things. The popular tradition of costuming or masquerading lets us try on new masks. That is, how we show up in the world, our persona. Children often costume as a superhero, and they get to see what it's like to be powerful in their world. So it is okay to notice and honestly experience our feelings. And today I've named them doubt, fear, and scorn or resistance. I had a neighbor just yesterday tell me that I had helped her by saying, "Feel your emotion." You see, about 2 months ago, her baby brother suddenly died. And she said, as she often does, "Reverend Stacey, pray for me." And then she paused and said, "I'm actually mad at God. How did he let this happen to my brother?" And I reminded her, these are not unusual feelings. But I said, remember, God can take your anger. God can take your anger. And Spirit will help you transform it eventually into a new understanding and deep wisdom. So a couple of months went by, and she reported yesterday, as soon as I came in the front door of the building, "Oh, you did help me by just giving me permission that it was okay to be angry with God." She was from a devout tradition, and she thought that would surely bring punishment upon her. And I said, that's not my understanding of what God's all about. God always supports us, always helps us to move forward in life as we are willing to take the steps. God understands anger, frustration, fear from human beings, and knows that it is possible for them to see beyond it, to be transformed by it, and to move to greater good. Now, I have studied, practiced, and worked in the unity movement for over 40 years. I know it's hard to believe. How could it be? And I'll admit, even to this day, that I experience doubt and fear and scorn toward the Spirit. And I'm a little timid about admitting that. Didn't we just affirm at the beginning of our service the omnipotent good? There is one presence and one power. But I, just from my own experience, I have to keep working at that, constantly remembering that. This same theme came up in this morning's 9 o'clock service. And so Kelly had us do the opening the statement of being several times. And everybody noticed it became more and more energetic, and we felt more and more confident. But it's not one and done. Tomorrow, for me probably later today, I will have to affirm that presence, power, and absolute goodness of God for myself, my situations, my community. So let's look at them for a moment. What on earth could be doubt of Spirit's power? Well, you might have a clear idea in your own life. I don't think my prayers are working. But we certainly know it as a world community, because we see areas of violence and war and great loss of life in our world. And unity is always calling us to remember, to affirm, to build a consciousness in the human family that peace is possible. If you've watched the media, if you do a lot of social media, if you listen to neighbors, whatever, I know I've heard, that part of the world, that's a lost cause. They've never known peace. They've always been in conflict. Well, that's the stage that those comments are setting for our world. I believe our world needs non-doubters, affirmers, those who are putting in the atmosphere of the earth this idea that peace is always possible. Now, some people hear that in unity and they immediately think, oh, you're just saying it's easy. Just say the word and it's done. No. Myrtle Fillmore, the mother of unity, said prayer is the beginning, but it's just a beginning. Do you hear that? Prayer is where we always start, but it's just a start. It's to be followed by what? Inspired action. We get the inspiration through prayer, through affirmation, for the purpose that we may be constructive, helpful, loving, respectful, and on in our actions, in how we treat one another. Let peace begin with me. Let peace begin with us, right here in our small but powerful community. So prayer, as Myrtle said, is that beginning, and we have faith in the power of that prayer, but then we act on it. If we don't act on it, I know Gerald knows this answer. Maria Nemeth says we metafizzle. We hold a prayer and we do nothing. That is a metafizzle. You've affirmed a grand ideal, a vision, peace is possible. Then how do you express that in your life? Most of us will not be called into military service at this present time, but there's a lot of service you can do in this church, in your neighborhood, in your workplace, in supporting peace, harmony, goodwill in all your relationships. So what is the antidote, the balancing force when we doubt Spirit's power? It is, as I've just said, an inspired action or creative work. We do something. So what about fear of Spirit's power? Fear. Well, I grew up to some degree, not the most extreme, but definitely a degree of fearing God. Have you ever noticed if you look in older translations of the Bible, it always speaks about the fear of God, an Old English word, but that fear, as they used it centuries ago, meant like we fear the power of nature. We respect it. We're aware of how powerful natural forces are. So to fear God was to be respectful, to be very aware of the power of the infinite. But words change over time. And so now fear, for most of us, means danger, danger, danger. Remember the robot in Lost in Space? Danger, danger. So to fear God, you must be fearing something. And some of us were raised with the idea that we're going to be punished for our not so nice ways, to be afraid of God. Or as Rich saying, the will of God. Do you fear it or do you trust? One of my favorite phrases that I like to contemplate from Rudolf Steiner says, I trust the wisdom of the world to unfold before me. I love that. I trust the wisdom, the inherent goodness of the world to unfold before me. Maybe it is a difficult boss at work or a challenging fellow student in school that's challenging you. How do I see good in that? Well, you may just discover what it is to make peace, to forgive, to come to some common ground with a difficult person. So what might we say is this antidote or cure to a fear of God's will, a fear of Spirit? We must have courage on our path. To counter fear, we must have courage. And what is that? It is to stick with the truth you know. Again, Myrtle Fillmore responding to someone that wrote to her and said, "Oh, Mrs. Fillmore, you're so advanced. You know so much. You're so spiritually developed." And she wrote back, because she could be kind of firm in her written responses, and she said, "You know nothing about my life." This woman didn't know that Myrtle had lost her youngest son, dead at a young age. Myrtle said, "You don't know anything about my life." And she said, "It doesn't matter if you're not advanced, a great spiritual leader. Just use the truth you know. Whatever you can hold on to. Our opening statement, the Lord's Prayer, another truth from another tradition, something that you can hold on and have courage. I will find good in this situation, and I'll work to foster it, to help move it forward. Well, now my biggest embarrassment, and that is to admit scorn. Another word is hatred. Hatred of spirit? Do I have that in me? Scorn or hatred of spirit, because it is the power that makes everything happen, and I would rather James have the power to make my world and control everything in it. Spirit, you do things I don't understand. You don't do what I want all the time. That is a type of scorn of spirit, and I might as well admit it. I don't know about you. But what's the antidote for that? It's trust. It's trust. I've told this story before, but since I'm wearing the robe I was ordained in, it made me remember before I entered Unity Ministerial training. I was a little iffy, dancing around a little bit. Well, if I go through with this and I'm ordained, where will Spirit take me? What city, what part of the world? Gosh, I could end up in Minneapolis. I don't know. I want to know. I want to know every move Spirit's going to make the rest of my life before I take that first step. What did Dr. King say? People with faith take the first step even when they can't see the whole staircase. And so I had to get real clear with myself. Did I trust Spirit, God, the Christ in me? You know, the essence of it all that I know is in control, is unfolding my world, our world, life. Do I trust it or not? And when I could finally answer that, I may waver, I may doubt, I may be afraid of some things, but I do trust the good of God to be made manifest in my life. And whatever these years of ministry may bring. People, that's where the rubber hits the road. You have a challenge or a difficulty in your life. You doubt something, you fear something, you hate something. It all comes down to this. Do you trust in the power and the good will that God is on your side? That God only wants the best for you? And if there are pitfalls and obstacles and difficulty, God's there rooting. James, look at that path over there. There's another way. Try it. God doesn't punish us. Whatever we may feel is punishing in our life, we've brought into our life. And you say, oh, you don't understand. This nasty member of my family was really bad to me. I didn't bring that into my life. Semantics. It showed up in your life. The point is, what are you going to do about it? And do you believe that God, that Spirit, that Christ is there to help you? Get clear. You get clear on that. Doors, like in the movie, door after door after door, opens before you because you trust. Well, let's don't get stuck in this. Let's move on. Kelly von Heidenkampf gave a great workshop yesterday on stop managing your anxiety. It was very fascinating. But one little factoid I wanted to share, she said came from research by HeartMath, a particular organization, and they had done a lot of research on when people are feeling fearful, doubtful, anxious, you know what happens? Our body sprays all these amazing chemicals throughout our body that do all kinds of things. Well, HeartMath wondered, how long does it take a human being to reset after this shower of energizing, fearful, wild chemicals throughout your body in a state of fear? How long does it take the human being to reset back to a nice, even plane? Well, their research was encouraging. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Remember, 3 minutes. It's possible. Now, in Unity, we have a technique, a way of doing a 3-minute reset. Sometimes mine are more like 30 minutes, but that's beside the point. It can be done, as Paul said to the Corinthians, we can all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, as our mind shifts. Unity described this as a 5-step prayer process. And I love that statement from AA, used by millions. It works if you work it. It works if you work it. So let's take a moment, just 3 little moments, and move into this reset process. It won't be the last, at least for me, but I'm guessing for you, it won't be the last time that you have doubt, fear, or even a little scorn in your life. But the good news is you have this power that God has given you to reset. So you just keep resetting and resetting and resetting and resetting. So let's begin. I invite you to close your eyes if you choose. And we'll just take these 5 steps simply. You can develop them further in your own time. But the first step is relaxation. Let the body relax. Get a sense of that beautiful rhythm of your breathing in and out. You don't want to enter a time of prayer with clenched fists. With your legs crossed, your feet in some odd position. Give your body permission to relax, to let go of tension. I find the most effective is to just watch the breath for a moment. How amazing the way God has created our bodies. We breathe out and release into the world. We inspire or breathe in the new, the restoring. And of course, you can allow as long as you want for this process of relaxation. When your body is relaxed, it's hard to support anxiety, fear, hatred, resistance. A Buddhist tradition says, see yourself as butter on the windowsill. The sun comes in and the butter just melts into a pool. Then we move to step 2, concentration. In unity, this is an affirmation of truth, a denial of negative power in your situation. You may express a prayer request in this step. God, you are my strength. Through Christ, I can do anything. Allow yourself to be grounded in an affirmative statement, a scripture, something meaningful to you. Then you move to meditation. That's simply, what does this situation mean to me? What can I learn from it? What can I see in it? And then the fourth step is the ultimate silence. You have to make the effort to let go of the prayer request, to let go of your affirmations, your denials, all your talking to God, and just be in the silence. In unity, we say this is where all revelation, all new ideas, all healings, all blessings begin in the silence. So you give yourself time to receive an outpouring of Spirit without you telling Spirit how it has to be done. Open and receptive. And finally, we give thanks. We give thanks. Respect every prayer. Every silent time you have, respect it by giving thanks. As Jesus said, Father, I know you hear me. You hear me always. Thanks be to God. That in God's presence I am able to reset. Reset. Go beyond doubt, fear, hatred, into a new and improved, greater version of myself. Wow. Wow. Wow is my word. Choose your own. Something that you feel flowing through your body, and so it is. Well, allow your attention to gradually come back to this room, the friends with whom you're seated, and get the power that God has given you. The prophet Isaiah expressed it this way, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose and succeed in the thing for which I sent it. There's a popular media host now that does workshops for women. Know your power. Know your power. I say that to you. As students of the Spirit, know your power. Give thanks for it. You can reset any situation. So let us be grateful. Let us leave this sanctuary renewed and grateful that we can do this over and over again as long as it takes to greet life victoriously, constructively, creatively, peacefully, lovingly. You have that power. I have faith in you. So as Rich comes forward to share more music with us, I invite you to consider your offering today. And don't give it with any sense of, oh, Unity South needs some more money, which of course we're always glad to receive. Thank you. But see this as a love offering. Charles Fillmore called it that for a reason. It is what you give to the greater world with love. I want to bless my world, and this is one way that I do it.
Thank you, Reverend. I didn't know exactly, obviously, what you were going to cover today, so naturally I did what I normally do, and I just asked Spirit, okay, so I've got this list of songs, what would be appropriate for today? And we've heard Reverend James say several times in this talk that it's about repetition. It's about doing the 5-step exercise, and not just once and say, okay, I've done it, but repeatedly. And accepting, learning, growing. So this song came about with me asking Spirit, okay, I'm not quite sure how to take the next step. What am I supposed to do? And the initial vision I got was a little bit like an actor on stage, where you might have somebody who's not used to being on stage, sort of hiding in the wings, crouching, afraid of getting out there. And Spirit said, do not be afraid. My love will protect you. And that's what this song's about. Move into the light. Step out of the shadow. Move into the warmth of the light. I know I lived a life like a lamb in the fold. Did what I was told, full of fear of being bold. Then one day I lost my way and I found myself alone. And I cried out loud, if there's a God, tell me how do I get home? I heard move into the light, step out of the shadow, move into the warmth of the light. You've been waiting in the wings, holding back your heart. Now's the time to start to move into the light. Like you, I've known a time of doubt and despair, when no one seemed to care, like I wasn't even there. Then one night I had a dream, and I heard a soft voice remind me that to get to God I just had to make the choice to move into the light, step out of the shadow, move into the warmth of the light. I've been waiting in the wings, holding back my heart. Now's the time to start to move into the light. So many times you didn't know which way to go, and you wondered if it showed, but you didn't really know. Now you finally found a way that helps you understand. So you must take that next step and do all that you can, and do all that you can, and move into the light. Step out of the shadow, move into the warmth of the light. You've been waiting in the wings, holding back your heart. Now's the time to start to move into the light. Well, it's your compass for truth you can hold in your sight. When you learn to keep focused on the source of the light, you gotta never give up. You gotta constantly try. You gotta keep your heart open and filled with the light. Never give up, constantly try. Live a new way, let the old habits die. Just come from the heart, bid goodbye to the dark. You gotta look for and find, and then move into the light. Oh, 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 move into the light.
Well, let's bless our gifts. There's been a transformation. What so many of you called mine, by your love you have made into ours, our community good. So God, we give thanks for your abundance in our individual lives. We give thanks for how you're working in our community of love and willingness. So let us speak our statement together. There we go. Recognizing the value of this spiritual community in my life, I affirm divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all the good that I am and have, all the good that I give and receive. And I am grateful. And I like to say great and full. Which reminds me, we have wonderful treats downstairs, and it's the first time for Holly Hansen and Dave Pagel to be doing our refreshments. And I don't know if you all know this, but our volunteers that do the beautiful refreshments every week, they pay for all of that themselves. The church doesn't buy that. It's their gift to you. And so that little kitty down there on the table, also called a basket, it's nice to show a little appreciation for what they are providing for you each week. And then that, in turn, blesses the church. So, Judy, I have gone a little over today, so we're going to move right to the prayer for protection.
Also, there's a little birthday cake for Lindsay Anderson downstairs.
Oh! Maybe we can put her flower arrangement on top of the cake. Let's stand for our prayer for protection. This is another way to make your trust in God sound by repeating these words together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a day full of blessings.
sometimes I say, wait a minute, what? You stumbled on that. Okay, well, make the word big.
Yeah,
Okay, you stumbled again.
That's smart.
Okay, highlight it.
that's smart. I like that.
And then, of course, for today, you told me, fear and doubt and stuff like that. So I changed this. This used to say I did.